The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Good morning. Court Radio is now in session. Call 215-227-2727. When you've got legal questions, we've got the answers. This is Court Radio. And now here's your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome to Court Radio. I'm Dean Weitzman and I'm joined in the studio with my co-host, the one and only inimitable David M. Rappaport.
Good morning.
What's up,
Hey.
Big Dave? Welcome back to Court Radio.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Nice day today.
It is. It is Sunday, February the 17th, and it's kind of a little overcast outside, folks. Hang loose, listen to some Court Radio, and ask your legal questions. 215-227-2727 gets you in the door, and David and I will give it a best shot. 215-227-2727. Hey, David.
Hey, Dean.
Things are happening around the city.
A lot of things are happening.
Let's talk first of the mayoral race.
Mm-hmm.
A field of many, as they say. Field of many. But the pollsters say Jim Kenney is in the lead.
A commanding lead, they say.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think that I'm ready to give up on politics. No, I'm not. I want people to go out and vote. I believe, that's the only way we get to have our voices heard. Pick your candidate, but get out there and vote next week because without that, you have no say in what happens in the city. I think that at this late date, I got to probably side with the polls. I think Kenny's going to win.
I was going to say though, just substance-wise, I haven't really, heard anything of substance from any of the candidates. I've heard all the talking points, and they all go blah blah blah, but there really hasn't been much I don't know what any of them really are going to do and really want to do.
I don't think they know what they're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. And more than ever, I think, recently, recent mayoral races, I haven't seen this much of focus on talking points and not much else.
Yeah.
So I have no clue who would be best and what the city needs, but.
Well, the city needs a lot, I think. The school district especially.
I think education should be a big focus.
Well, is that a surprise coming from you?
Well,
Eunice and you?
Shut up. She was on last week. It's Janice.
Janice, I'm sorry. David's mom, Janice, an old school teacher.
And my father, both school teachers.
He's a principal.
No.
Oh, I thought he was.
He was a biology teacher and a disciplinarian.
A disciplinarian.
South Philly High for 37 years.
There.
37, yeah.
I still have the wounds to show for it. 215-227-2727. The lines are lighting up. Well, let's talk about it, David. I know you, CEO of Amtrak, takes full responsibility.
As well he should.
Full responsibility for the train crash. And the question is, should people accept that, and does that mean that they don't need to have representation? We're going to talk about that during the show, but for now, it seems like Amtrak has accepted responsibility that the train crash was driver error, and that clearly the train was exceeding the speed limit rated for the track at that time by at least 100%.
And then I think the other thing that goes into why Amtrak is taking responsibility is really the tragedy is that they have this new technology that will slow down a train when it comes to the particular bends that need to have the low speed, and they just didn't get to this quick enough. They didn't spend the money to really implement it all on the Northeast Corridor, and now the federal government after this is mandating that they do it immediately. And quite frankly, I think they easily could have done it, and they know that. They just didn't. That's a shame.
The irony is that the Republican Congress voted to reduce their budget
right after this happened. Is that, well, if that doesn't people, if that
that's-
doesn't tell you a little bit about what goes through the minds of those people.
Wasn't that newsworthy?
Yeah, right.
I mean,
right.
they slashed
Is that
Amtrak's
horrible?
budget.
Is that horrible?
On the backs of
As soon as this happens.
victims. Yeah.
Well, and that's indicative of talk about the infrastructure of our country. That's clearly the main, when you talk about infrastructure of the United States, you think of railroad immediately and then bridges and roads. And there right there to me is the mandate of what the GOP stands for, and that's no funding for the infrastructure and fixing our infrastructure and just giving money to big business. And this is what we need. You're going to see this more and more. We're seeing it now. Bridges, roadways,
Exactly.
horrific.
Yeah.
Around here, I don't need to tell you about the roadways. So, yeah.
The dovetail into what we started talking about with regard to the mayor is, as the chief administrator for the city of Philadelphia, there are no she's running. Whoever he will be, will have to deal with the infrastructure,
yes.
which is crumbling beneath us.
It's crumbling, yes.
But don't raise taxes. That's
people don't want to pay taxes. Right?
You
don't
gotta pay.
You're going to have to.
Yeah,
someone's got to pay for it.
Let my Philly lawyer do it. We do all the heavy lifting around the city.
No, but really, it's amazing that these kinds of incidences haven't happened more with railroads and things, because literally things are crumbling and bridges, roadways, everything. It's just amazing to me that they would defund Amtrak after this major incident.
Yeah,
just unbelievable.
I want to know what our folks think about that. A funding reduction for Amtrak right on the heels of 8 deaths and countless injuries from Amtrak's negligence. So anyway, we'll get back to that. B.B. King
Got to
died.
mention B.B. King.
B.B.
The King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him last at the Keswick Theater.
You did?
I did.
Wow. Awesome.
And he was still awesome. And this goes back, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. But he was awesome. He sat through the show.
Oh, yeah.
And played.
It's amazing. I'm into B.B.
You're a
King.
musician.
Yeah, I'm totally into him, but I didn't even recognize, after he passed, people were posting all sorts of videos. If you go on YouTube and Google video, you see some things back when he was really young. I mean, I didn't even realize how incredible he was. He was incredible, like you said, recently, but back in the day, wow, I can really see why he influenced so many people.
Yeah.
He really was the blues. He was the blues man. He was the blues. That's why.
Does the blues die with him?
No, I don't know, but he certainly was. It's King.
Who picks up the kind of the mantle at this point for the blues?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not well versed enough in the blues. Maybe some of our listeners can chime in on that.
215-227-2727. Let's talk to some listeners, speaking of which.
Okay.
Let's talk to Sean from Newark. Is that Newark, Delaware, Sean?
Hi.
Hi, Sean.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Are you from Newark, Delaware, or Jersey?
Jersey.
Jersey.
Hang up.
Okay.
No, just kidding.
We'll talk to Jersey. So, so you hear us all the way up in Newark, huh?
Yes.
Ah, that's sweet.
Did you have a cup of coffee yet this morning?
No.
Come on, pep it up, baby. Come on, let's go. You're on the radio.
All right, Sean, what's your question?
I am currently going through a custody battle with my son's father.
Uh-huh.
And
how old's your son? How old's your son?
He's 4.
Okay. Little tyke. Go ahead.
Yeah. And his dad is taking me to court. He's in New York. He has taken out an order of protection against me because I've moved on and gotten into another relationship, so he's not happy with that. He has an extensive jail record, and I'm trying to find out what recourse I have to be able to bring this up in court because his record goes so far back.
Well, let me ask you a question.
They need current information.
Okay, whoa. Where do you live? You live in New Jersey, right?
Yes.
And your 4-year-old, he lives with you in New Jersey?
Yes.
Okay.
He was conceived and born in Jersey.
Okay. So the any custody issues with regards to him would be handled in New Jersey, not New York. But your ex is filed a protection from abuse against you in New York. Usually,
Yeah.
Okay, so that's got nothing to do with custody per se. He's saying he wants you to stay away from him. And that's usually what happens when somebody is annoying somebody. Were you annoying him? Did you do anything?
No.
No.
I moved on into another relationship, so I guess that's an annoyance.
It could be.
You should just agree with, you should encourage the protection from abuse order, so you will
But
stay away from it.
Does he have custody? Does he have visitation rights to his son?
No,
Nothing.
nothing has been established.
When's the last time he
He-
saw him?
Was caught by the cops selling drugs with our child in his possession.
Okay, well, that's usually
And
a
ever since
guarantee.
then-
That's usually a guarantee that he's not going to get any kind
he
of
won't
visitation.
have any custody there.
Yeah. And as far as can you bring that up, I think absolutely
That
you can
you
bring
can,
it up.
yeah.
But the point is that if what you're saying to us is correct, and he's filed a document, a protection from abuse document in New York, that's ultimately an order of the court, if it's granted, that keeps you away from him. And it doesn't sound like that's something you're going to disagree with. So if that's what he's filing, I'd say you're okay, but you probably want to have representation to make sure that because there's important things here. Your rights are at stake and your son's rights, potentially, in the event that you got what's being filed. If you got it wrong, I don't want to tell you, hey, don't worry about it, because, if it is a custody issue, it needs to be addressed. But if it is truly a protection from abuse and you have to stay away from him, it sounds like that's something you could agree to. Sean, thanks for calling Court Radio, and have a great Sunday. I like to hit a little domestic relations right off the bat on a Sunday morning.
That one was a little interesting, I would say.
All right, let's call in our guest.
We have someone chomping at the bit right now.
Yeah, she's a representative. I'm not sure what her title is, but we're going to find out.
We're going to find out. Yeah.
It's Donna Lee Jones. Welcome to Court Radio.
Good morning.
Donna.
Who are you?
Wait, do I have to refer to as Donna Lee, or does the Lee go with Jones? Is it Donna Lee or is it Lee Jones?
It's like Anne-Marie, but it's Donna Lee.
Oh, okay.
But you can just call me Donna.
So Donna is Donna and
Who
Lee.
the heck is that?
That's the first name,
Right.
and then Jones is the last name.
Right.
Okay. So now I got, because I'm a name.
Yeah, he is. He's name challenged.
My dad was in the military, so there's 7 of us, and we all have these twangy names. So I have a sister, Carrie Bliss, Bobby Elwood.
Where were
so
you?
obviously he was in Texas or somewhere.
Yeah, were you born
right?
in Texas?
No, I was born in Kensington at Helen and
Wow.
Somerset in Philadelphia.
Did he have some type of southern bent or southern,
Well, I think he had his
southwest?
training for the military down
There was
Down
a time
there,
when
yeah.
there was a time when Kensington kind of was like Texas. Okay,
They wanted to secede
Yeah.
from the Union, right? Yeah,
they
okay.
wanted to secede.
It probably still is that way.
All right, so Donna Lee, you work with or for U.S. Claims. U.S. Claims is a sponsor of Court Radio, and they provide for us, for our clients, they provide funding during the pendency of their claims. What do you do at U.S. Claims?
At U.S. Claims, I'm at what they call a senior underwriter. So I do the legal review of the cases that come in, the more complex cases, to see if it's a case that we can fund. So if you have a complex case like medical malpractice, sometimes legal malpractice, we do a lot of wrongful conviction act cases across the country.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So cases like that that have complex facts, complex law, and big fundings, I read those, review them, and decide, listen, can we help these people or can we not, unfortunately, help these people?
Boy, I would say just from you mentioning this wrongful conviction ones, that's a real risky thing for a funding company to get involved in. So you would really need to vet that out pretty well, because how many of those cases are successful? I would think more now than they used to be.
Right.
With all the DNA stuff, but still,
So
I can't imagine.
Here's what I've learned with U.S. Claims doing this, because I'm an attorney. I didn't do these types of wrongful conviction act cases. I did civil rights cases, which it's part of it, but
Part
not
of it,
really.
yeah.
So what I didn't know and what people may not know is that there are several states across the country that have a state statute that if you are wrongfully convicted, and it happens a lot, and you go to jail, some states have an automatic compensation statute for you, regardless of what happened below.
Right. Here's how much.
Whose fault it is. Here's how much you get per year or
Right.
per day. Some states are very they acknowledge what it's like to spend 20 years in prison for a crime you didn't commit, like New York, and you get fair compensation. Other states, your max compensation for maybe 25 years in prison is $75,000. So there's not enough compensation in a lot of these states. So people who are wrongfully convicted have a separate civil rights case in federal court.
Right.
And that's generally what we fund.
Right. So they get around a limitation in the state
Right, by filing federally.
by filing federally as a civil rights violation, and then there's no limitations. In fact, when there's a cap on damages, David and I talk about this all the time. When there's a cap on damages in a state under state law, if there is a violation of federal law, you can get around that cap on damages by filing federally, which is what Donna is talking about on a wrongful conviction. How do people get in touch with U.S. Claims?
So people come to us quite a few ways. So number one, you can go to our website, usclaims.com, and there's information about our company. All of our profiles are there, so you'll know who we are. You'll know who the decision maker is on your case, who can help you, and who is calling you to tell you, sorry, we can't help you. We're contacted by attorneys that we know and even attorneys that we don't know across the country that want to deal with us directly because we do have strong relationships with the attorneys. And number three, there are brokers nationwide that we do not have a relationship with other than they send cases for us to review. And if we approve them, we let the broker know, and the broker handles the contracts. And if we deny them, the broker tells the client. So they're the main three ways that we get business.
How about calling in direct? How about if a listener to Court Radio says, "Hey, I like Donna and I feel good about her. I want to see if she'll lend me money."
So what you have to do is just call 1-877-US Claims. We have our receptionist is very good at intake. They'll ask you what type of case you have. So if you have a motor vehicle accident case, a slip and fall case, a trucking accident case, a wrongful conviction act case, any type of case involving personal injury that you're having financial problems as a result of, come and talk to us, give us a call, and we'll let you know if it's the type of case that we can help with.
You know what is really cool, David? Their U.S. Claims is actually getting kind of into the technology of today. Mm-hmm. And so in my desk drawer, I have little credit cards.
Right.
Okay. And when a client says, I'd like to get an advance dean on my case, once the client's case is approved, I can just hand them this credit card.
Wow.
They can take that to an ATM machine and suck out some cash.
I want a stack of credit cards. Can you give me a stack of credit cards? You haven't come over to my office. You better walk over.
Let me tell you why that's important. And it sounds funny, guys. It really does. But here's why it's important. So many people are so financially devastated by these cases, the big cases. They lose everything. And it's at the end of the day, they can't pay their mortgage. They can't pay their kids' bills. They can't pay utilities. They're being foreclosed on. We hear this story every single day, and they have a solid case, but it's going to take 3 years to resolve, right? So with cases like that, some people, a bank account's not the easiest way. Some people don't have bank accounts. Some people are going through divorce and can't have the money in the joint account. So it goes right onto a Visa card, which you can write checks against. You can use it at an ATM, and you could take it into a bank, or you could use it as a debit card.
Right.
So it's really the easiest, most convenient way, and we'll send you the card FedEx.
Right now, Larry's thinking to himself,
how do I get one?
Yeah, no, he's thinking, why didn't I pursue that case? What's wrong with me?
But let me ask. Let's get to the you'll take some calls. Maybe I want to set up our next segment with Donna, which I think is going to be. Let's get to the meat of the matter, which is what a lot of people are familiar with these companies. Let's face it. And a lot of people know that it's not like, let's say, a credit card in that the interest that's charged can be very substantial if it takes a long time to get the money back. So I want to get into that. Like, what is it that you charge people? Is it on a case-by-case basis that you figure that out? And how do you determine it? And why are you allowed to charge more than, let's say, a regular loan company.
Okay.
We're going to get to those questions. Don't even think about it. You're
don't shoot.
I actually have
Shoot the gun.
I got callers calling
I know.
in
That's what we're
with
gonna
that
take.
very question.
Oh, okay. See, I anticipated it.
Let's talk to Islet from Cheltenham on line 3. Hey, Islet, welcome to Court Radio.
Hey, how are you today?
We're wonderful. We're wonderful. Do you listen regularly to Court Radio?
I listen to you every week. I wake up just to hear you.
Wow.
All right.
But I wanted to tell you this morning, you said good morning, and you said today is February the 17th. You owe me a shirt.
Whoa. Nice. How about 2 shirts?
No, don't be pressing your luck, David.
All right.
We're gonna get Islet a shirt.
Did you say February? I didn't even hear you say February.
I
February.
Listen. The nice thing about this is it's recorded for posterity purposes.
That's right.
So I can't even try to lie. Did I say February 17th? I certainly did. Yeah. But
You caught it.
I
Yeah.
love you so much.
Oh.
Thank you.
I
Sweet.
can't wait to meet you. I would like to meet you one day.
Really? Wow. That's
Yes.
where is it you live?
I'm right here
Stalker
with
alert.
Welcome to Philadelphia. I'm right here by 7-Eleven by Cheltenham Nursing Home.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
around the corner because that's where I vote at. Right here.
Are you going to vote?
Treeview Manor.
Are you voting this year for the mayor?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Oh, yes. I vote every year.
Good.
Are you going to tell us who you're voting for?
It's so hard. I don't know which one for real, Kennedy. I don't know which one. It's hard.
I know it is. In certain parts of the city, or certain parts of the country, independent organizations, totally independent, like what's that voting organization?
Quinnipiac.
No. Like the 70.
The Committee of 70?
Committee of 70. People groups like that actually write up a bio and a detailed history of each candidate. And you get like a package it comes to you in the mail, a package listing everything
people
about
just
them.
throw that in the trash. They
Yeah,
don't
well,
even-
see, that's the thing. That's actually, forget about all the money they spend on TV advertising. That's meaningless,
Yeah, and all the ads.
Every
Yeah.
day I come home, I get a big 8.5 by 11 postcard of a candidate. I'm so sick of them.
Yeah, I know.
It's money just
Well,
throw
listen,
it right out.
good luck, Islet. Good luck with your vote, and stay on the line. Monica's going to get your address.
You don't have a question? That was just to tell us that Dean was wrong.
Yeah,
And-
she just wanted to help her her friend Dean out.
I like that.
Okay. All right.
I learn a lot from y'all. I like listening. I learn a whole lot. I don't have no problems. I don't have any children.
Do you own
And
a
my
car?
landlord, everybody is good.
Do you own a
I
car?
don't really have any problems. Yeah.
Do you have full
But-
tort?
You have full
No, but
Whoa. Stop. Do you own a car? You own a car and you don't have full tort. But you learned from us. Why don't you have full tort?
it's so high.
No, it's not. Full tort is maybe 10% higher than what you're paying now per year.
Liability. Oh,
No, not everyone has liability.
Right.
We're going to have to school you on the tort again, I think.
A new show coming up.
A new show is going to
Yeah.
have to come. Listen in a couple weeks, maybe next week.
We're
Who
gonna
knows?
have the Islet show, the Islet from Cheltenham show.
I'm coming to meet you. I'm coming to meet you.
You'll come in. You can be our test case for that show.
All right, we're increasing.
Bring your insurance
We have to
policy.
increase security, David.
Yeah,
Islet,
stop.
thank you for pointing out my mistake. Have a great Sunday.
You too, and thank you very much.
Stay on the line.
All right. 215-227-2727. Let's talk to Bill from West Philly because I haven't heard anybody from West Philly this week.
West Philly.
West Philly's represented. What's up, Bill?
Good morning. I have a little real estate problem here.
A little one, huh? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Back around 2000, the VA had foreclosure homes, and they were selling them. The thing about they had a contract out. If you paid for the home, they would pay all the closing costs at the end of after you pay it off. Excuse me, a little nervous.
It's all right.
I paid off the home. Now HUD has taken over that program, but they don't know anything about that VA process.
I don't understand. So they would pay the closing costs, which happens when you get the house, after you
at the
pay it
end
off.
At the end of after you pay the house off.
I
they would
understand.
Pay the
Well, let me ask you
closing
something,
costs.
Bill. Do you have all your paperwork from when you went to settlement?
I never had settlement. That's just it. You won't have a settlement until after you pay off the home.
So it's sort of like a
So they
lease
own
to,
it until
it's
lease
like a
purchase.
lease purchase
Yeah.
or lease to own.
Right.
Okay. Well, there's a contract you entered into, right? Everybody signed a contract.
Yes.
Okay. Where's the contract?
I had the contract, but the VA doesn't know anything about. I mean, not the VA. The HUD doesn't know anything about this program.
Yeah, well,
Right,
you're
okay.
going to show them. You're going to show it to them.
Yeah, as long as you got the contract and you can show the payments made on the contract and whatnot, then I think you got a fighting chance. Now you may have to you may have to get representation in order to force HUD to adhere to the terms of the contract. But it all starts with the contract, and it all starts with having a lawyer, at least review the contract to tell you what your rights are. That kind of representation is not free, but it is something I believe that you need to do. So if you have a lawyer, family lawyer, I'd go to your family lawyer and I'd bring the contracts and I'd have them reviewed carefully. If you don't, you can always give us a call at My Philly Lawyer and ask for Saul. Just call Saul, okay? Because
Is he a real estate lawyer?
he does real estate. He does geriatric.
What doesn't he do?
Yeah, he does all that like real. I guess it would be kind of everyday law. He's not doing the litigation anymore, but he is a wonderful lawyer who's doing all of the. He creates wills and estates, and he reviews contracts, and he's an expert at real estate. He's bought and sold more property than I can shake a stick at. Guys.
So I don't need a real estate lawyer for this thing.
Well, there are lawyers.
What makes you say that?
Yeah, there are lawyers who do nothing but real estate. Okay. And I guess that's who you're referring to when you say a real estate lawyer, because I took real estate in law school. I had Joey Passon. He had these crazy shoes.
I remember him.
You remember Joey
He was
Passon?
mean, wasn't he?
No, he was sweetheart.
Oh, okay.
I'm
not thinking of the right guy.
I got a B+ in real estate. Yeah,
At Temple.
Yeah, at Temple. And does that make me a real estate lawyer? I don't know.
Hey, if you call yourself one, you're a real estate lawyer. That's what my experience. A lot of people call themselves a blank lawyer.
Listen, I'm telling you, I'm giving you a straight scoop. You can give Saul a call. I'm sure he can handle this, and let him take a look at the contract. If you have a lawyer, call your lawyer. I mean, this is not complicated stuff. You need to have your contract reviewed by somebody who is experienced in contract reviews. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. Have a great Sunday.
All right.
Hey, David, Donna, we're going to come right back. And when we do, I got a caller on the line. We're going to talk about U.S. claims and what they charge for loans. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
For 20 years, Center City Medical Center has provided premium expert medical services for Philadelphia. Whether you need musculoskeletal rehab or an immigration physical, call 888-945-EXAM. Our board-certified physicians have more than 80 years' experience from post-injury rehab to DNA paternity testing. To make an appointment at one of our 3 convenient locations, call 888-945-EXAM. Get premium expert care. Center City Medical Center, serving Northeast, North, and Center City, Philadelphia. If you've been injured on the job and are entitled to workers' comp, you need someone fighting for you from the start. Call Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law. Don't rely on your employer or insurance company to get it right. Call 215-512-1500. If you're entitled to workers' comp or it's being challenged, Jeffrey Gross can help get the money you deserve, and he won't get paid unless you get paid. Call 215-512-1500. Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law, representing Pennsylvania's injured workers for more than 20 years. It's a legal and financial squeeze. You're unable to work because of an accident, but your legal case is still not settled, so you can't pay the bills to take care of your family. But now, thanks to U.S. Claims, you can. If you have a pending lawsuit, call 1-877-US-CLAIMS. While you're waiting for your settlement, U.S. Claims can help you pay the bills. Get out of the squeeze. Call 1-877-US-CLAIMS today. If you have legal problems and need answers, call My Philly lawyer, Dean Weitzman, first at 215-227-2727 for personal injury, medical malpractice, birth injury, and more. Call Dean first.
He will fight for your rights. That's what Dean Weissman is all about.
Call My Philly lawyer, Dean Weitzman, first. 215-227-2727. My Philly lawyer, when winning matters most.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Thank you, David.
Yes. Hello.
We're back. It's Court Radio, and I'm Dean Weitzman. And you know what, David?
What?
It's May 17th.
Really? We
Yeah.
just jumped 2 or 3 months.
Hey, listen, that's what happens.
That was quick.
Time warp when you're listening to Court Radio. Pardon me, I'm still suffering from a cold. 215-227-2727 gets you in the door, where you get to ask David and I your legal question. We're joined in the studio with Donna Lee Jones.
I like the act. You put the accent on the right part.
Senior underwriter for U.S. Claims. And U.S. Claims funds our clients when they need money during the pendency of their case. Welcome back to Court Radio.
Thank you, gentlemen.
It's always good to have you here. How do people get you? Is it 1-800-U.S. Claims?
It's 1-877-US Claims.
You didn't jump on the bandwagon soon enough.
Right.
1-877-US Claims gets
or the
you.
website.
Or the website. Mm-hmm. What's the website?
The website is usclaims.com.
That's easy.
That's easy. usclaims.com or 1-877-US-CLAIMS. If you've got a case, if you're in the midst of litigating a case as an injured party or an aggrieved party, and you need some money during the pendency of that claim, U.S. Claims is the place to turn to. And I don't say that lightly because, I've dealt with a lot of companies over the years who have called me to say, hey, can we lend your clients money? And I'm always leery because I've seen the horror stories where you lend money and then all of a sudden you owe gazillions.
10 times more.
Yeah, gazillions of dollars. I've seen it with David once in a while.
What do you mean, me owing you tens of thousands?
No, with clients of yours, where you'd come to me and go, look at this. You're not going to believe this.
Every lawyer has a horror story.
Oh,
yeah.
my. And it gets in the way of settlement.
It does sometimes, and your client doesn't They can say they'll sign every paper to get the money, and because they need it, it's understandable. When the time comes to pay, though, it's not an easy time, and they'll never want to pay.
Let's talk to Monica from Allentown, Pennsylvania, who's facing a similar situation. Welcome to Court Radio, Monica.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. You called last week and you had a question, and I thought, wow,
I remember that. Yeah,
this is a question for Donna Lee Jones.
So we waited. We made you wait.
And you know what? You're a good listener to Court Radio, and I'm going to get you a T-shirt too. By the way, stay on the line. We're going to get your address. We're going to get you a T-shirt. We're going to hook you up.
Thank you very much.
What's your question, Monica?
I have a question in regards to what legal rights I have about repayment of one of these in-need loans, because about 10 years ago, I borrowed some money, and now it's coming to settlement time.
How much did you – wait. Hold on. How much did you borrow? How much did you borrow?
I borrowed four installments of $5,000, which equaled about $20,000.
Okay. And now how much are they saying you owe back?
A little over $550,000.
We have so many questions that I can't even begin. But the first question that I think we all had, why did the litigation take 10 years? What kind of case was it? Don't give us just what kind of case.
A car accident.
Car accident, okay.
I was hit by a truck. I was sitting on the side of the road, and a truck hit me. And basically, the first lawyer I had, I believe that the ball was dropped. The plaintiffs, they relocated out of state, and
Defendants.
it was just basically a cat and mouse game of my attorneys trying to locate the defendant,
the responsible party. All right, so it took that long.
Well, let me just say this to you, Monica. First of all, it's really, really, really unusual for a case to last 10 years.
Right.
Okay. And I'm sure, if you had known when you borrowed this money that it was going to last 10 years, you might have thought differently about borrowing it if you had seen an amortization schedule. If you had seen, listen, Monica, I'm going to lend you $20,000. And this case is going to take 10 years, and in 10 years you're going to owe me $500,000. You might have said, "No way, I'm not doing it." Right?
Yes.
Well, that brings a good.
I would almost have to borrow it from a loan shark or something.
Yeah. Well, that brings up a good question though. The contracts that you signed, do they actually in there give them the right to claim? I'm not saying they're entitled to it, but give them the right to claim $500,000. In other words, does it equal $500,000 if you follow what the contract says?
Unfortunately, I gave all my paperwork. I just signed on the dotted line. I gave it to the lawyer I had at the time to review. Okay. So, I was on all sorts of medication, and I was just really in a bad state of mind and a bad frame of mind. So I don't know exactly what the
all right, well.
The contract stated. I was just worried about not being evicted, eating and just like normal everyday, I still am on disability from the accident 10 years later.
Understood.
Here's the bottom line. Monica, unfortunately, this is the bottom line. We can't tell you whether you have to pay it back because we need to review and you need to review the contract. But the contract itself will go a long way to answering that question. Some of these contracts that I've entered into with my clients cap out at a limit. So, you might triple the amount you've borrowed or quadruple the amount you borrowed, but at some point it stops growing. There are other contracts where the growth is unimpeded by time.
Yeah, but I think, and Donna, you'll chime in on this, I think, though, there is no contract. I don't think any company does a contract where they can take more money than you would ever get. In other words, they don't have a personal claim against you. Their claim to get money back is based on what you've recovered. So if you didn't get $500,000 or more as a recovery in the case, you're not going to owe that money.
You personally won't owe it out of anything other than your settlement.
Correct.
But Monica, if you made $1 million settlement and you're going to get $600,000,
then
you might lose $550,000 of it if the contract doesn't limit how much they can recover. Now, again, you can't. You can say that you were under the influence when you signed these 4 contracts, one after the other. Each time you were under the influence, but the truth of the matter is that probably won't be a basis upon which the contract would be void. There are reasons why the contract could be void. It might be there might be a defense to the contract, but it all starts with the contract. And you can't say, I don't know what I signed. So you need to get a copy of the contract. You need to review it. Donna Lee is chomping at the bit to get in this conversation. Go on.
Well, here's the other thing, too, Monica. If you find the contract, if it's a contract that looks like our contracts at U.S. Claims, you're going to look right at the first page, and there's going to be a chart that tells you what you owe based on what date you pay, period. Not all contracts are like that, unfortunately. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you need to sit down and have a frank discussion with your attorney. And you and your attorney need to call whoever the funding company is, okay? There's a lot of funding companies out there. And they all charge different rates, different ways, okay? They're not all as straightforward. And have a frank discussion with the funding company about what, if anything, can be done to compromise the lien, okay? At the end of the day, these are not loans, all right? Nobody loaned you money. You sold an interest in your case to the funding company, period. So the discussion about loans and borrowing, that's a whole different animal. If you had a loan from a bank, the bank would collect the entire amount of that loan, irregardless of whether you won or lost your case, period. Funding's different. You only pay it back if you're successful because you sold an interest in your case 4 times to some company we don't know about. But I think the most important thing to do is what Dean said. 1, find that contract and actually find all 4. I don't know if all 4 of them are the same. Number 2, get on the horn with you, your attorney, and the funding company and have a meaningful discussion about what can be done so that everyone is happy with the total resolution of the case. The straightest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. So just do it, go right for it and handle it.
Monica?
Oh, I appreciate that. Yes, I believe at this time the attorney is trying to, I have a different attorney. He's trying to, they won't talk to me directly. They only talk to the attorney. So like she said, I think we all need to sit down and see if it's even worth, settling the case or, what's going to go on.
Well, if the case hasn't been settled yet, then dare I say you're in a very strong position because if they are unwilling to compromise, then your attorney should be telling them that you're not going to settle. Then they won't get anything, right? And they risk losing everything if you lose the case in a trial.
But that is a conversation that, as David said, that's a conversation should happen now before the case is finally settled.
Absolutely.
Monica, stay on the line. We're going to get you a T-shirt, and thanks for being a great listener and a great question for Court Radio.
Thank you very much for answering my call.
All right.
Monica.
All right.
215-227-2727. You know where I was yesterday, David?
No, I don't.
The annual Bread of Life bowling.
Oh, really? The bowling
The
party.
bowl-a-thon.
With your other mom, Lil.
My other mom, Lil Daniels.
Lil Daniels.
And
how'd it go?
Oh, the place was mobbed.
Was it?
Oh, yeah. They raised so much money. Bread of Life's never going to have to ask for another nickel the rest of the Bread of Life.
Yeah, right. Like Lil's not going to. Come on.
No, all right. They might ask for another nickel.
Did you bowl?
I did bowl. Yeah.
Oh God, I wish I had video of that.
You could sell that video. Yeah, that's how bad it was.
Did you hit a pin?
Not many. And I was with my girl, Sophia Elizabeth.
Well, she didn't bowl. She can barely.
Yeah, she
pick
could,
it up, right?
She could wobble, but that's about it. 215-227-2727. But all my friends from Jersey were there. And we had a good time, yep, and it was a lot of fun. And there's something else coming up. Willingboro, did you know that Willingboro, New Jersey, right, that little town on the other side of the Burlington-Bristol Bridge,
Right.
They have this giant jazz festival where they bring in artists, world-renowned artists.
It's a Willingboro Jazz Festival? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Who's world-renowned?
It's like 40 years in the making.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's coming? Who's the world-renowned artist coming?
I can't reveal it now because they haven't paid me enough to actually advertise for them. But
I want to know who. Okay, you'll tell me.
You're just going to have to wait. But it's in August, so don't worry.
I'll be around.
Yeah, and they were wondering if I knew somebody who was a drummer because they needed.
Oh yeah, right.
They did. They
Really?
needed a drummer.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Drummer?
Yeah, I'm in.
David's in. All right.
Put my name out there.
But the thing is, you have to wear our Court Radio T-shirt while you're drumming.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right.
I'll do that.
215-227-2727. We're going to take a quick break to pay the bills, and we'll be right back.
For 20 years, Center City Medical Center has provided premium expert medical services for Philadelphia. Whether you need musculoskeletal rehab or an immigration physical, call 888-945-EXAM. Our board-certified physicians have more than 80 years' experience from post-injury rehab to DNA paternity testing. To make an appointment at one of our 3 convenient locations, call 888-945-EXAM. Get premium expert care. Center City Medical Center, serving Northeast, North, and Center City, Philadelphia. If you've been injured on the job and are entitled to workers' comp, you need someone fighting for you from the start. Call Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law. Don't rely on your employer or insurance company to get it right. Call 215-512-1500. If you're entitled to workers' comp or it's being challenged, Jeffrey Gross can help get the money you deserve, and he won't get paid unless you get paid. Call 215-512-1500. Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law, representing Pennsylvania's injured workers for more than 20 years. It's a legal and financial squeeze. You're unable to work because of an accident, but your legal case is still not settled, so you can't pay the bills to take care of your family. But now, thanks to U.S. Claims, you can. If you have a pending lawsuit, call 1-877-US-CLAIMS. While you're waiting for your settlement, U.S. Claims can help you pay the bills. Get out of the squeeze. Call 1-877-US-CLAIMS today. If you have legal problems and need answers, call My Philly lawyer, Dean Weitzman, first at 215-227-2727 for personal injury, medical malpractice, birth injury, and more. Call Dean first.
He will fight for your rights. That's what Dean Weitzman is all about.
Call My Philly lawyer, Dean Weitzman, first. 215-227-2727. My Philly lawyer, when winning matters most.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back. It's Court Radio, and it's still May the 17th. And today is your day to call Court Radio at 215-227-2727.
You're waiting. There it is. Wait for that explosion.
We got Donna Lee Jones in the studio. She works over at U.S. Claims, and they give money away left and right.
Did you bring a check, by the way?
No checks, but actually we have a Visa debit card now.
Oh,
we can provide
that's right.
funding. We talked about
I'm getting a stack of those.
Right?
Yeah. I got Visa debit cards in my desk drawer at the office.
I'll take one of those.
When a client says, I need funding, all I do is whip out the credit card, hand it over, load it up with some cash, and they're good to go.
Nice.
Isn't that, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Doesn't that sound nice? How does it work, Donna Lee? I mean, how do you get paid?
Well, let me talk first about how you guys. It's we're talking about funding in a very light way, but funding is not easy.
No.
Of 100 calls to come in, maybe we fund 10, 15 of those cases. So it's not, hey, I need money, I'm going on vacation, I'm looking for funding. It's not going to happen. We practice responsible funding. You need a solid personal injury case that's in suit, that has some general information in it, and has something for me to review. If you don't have that, we can't help you, period. So that's number one. Number two, how does it work? Let's say you do have a case that is a mature case where we have the parties' information, the police were actually there, you actually had some medical treatment, there's an injury, and we can learn the insurance information. What's the next step? Well, we'll decide if we can fund you. The number one question, and you guys asked it earlier, is what are our funding rates? Our funding rate is 35% non-compounded. So it's a high rate like a credit card would be, but it's not compounded the way a credit card is. This is not a loan, okay? So seek out funding if all other options have passed. You don't have personal funds.
That 35%, is that an annual number?
It's
not compounded.
It's
so.
17.5% every 6 months.
Okay.
So you're locked in for 6-month periods in the contract. Right. Okay.
And just so everyone knows that a loan Loans are regulated.
Right.
So, like, when you go to a bank, they have to charge a specific interest rate, and there's all sorts of laws
Correct.
on how you pay it back. But this is not a loan because you're not giving the money and saying you must pay us back. You're saying you're going to pay us back if and when you get money from your case.
If and
you take a
only
risk. Right.
if and only if you get money from your case.
Right. So you're taking the risk. If
Right.
that case somehow doesn't yield anything for the person, you don't get your money back.
And there's lots of risk. It's not just that the case we try to choose cases that will be successful, obviously. Okay, that's a no-brainer, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Right.
Sometimes things with the lawyer go south. Things happen in life to everybody. Sometimes things with the client go south. Sometimes things with just general life and facts go south, or the law changes. And
I'm going to give you an example. I represented over the course of decades. I've represented clients who pass away after the case begins,
right?
And they don't make it to the end of the case,
right?
And I have to relinquish the case usually because there's nobody to testify on behalf of that client with regard to how the accident happened or what the damages are. In those cases, if you've made a loan, what happens to your loan?
Again, it's not a loan. If we provided funding, okay? So if your client sold an interest to us in the case, well, one of two things happen. Is there an estate that's going to be raised, and is the estate representative, it gets complex. Is the estate representative willing to pursue the lawsuit? Now, if the lien is so high, and we try not to ever get to that point, if the lien is so high where the only purpose of the lawsuit is to repay the lien, the family's not interested, okay? And the case dies there. So that's why I say we take a close look at these and we practice responsible funding. We are not going to fund you for a vacation, for a new car, for an investment, for a lawn business, and we get these calls all the time. It's for your needs while your case is pending so that you can sleep at night and not worry about your house being foreclosed on.
Now, but let's talk about relationships because, for real, okay, I'm going to say it, for real, when I make a call, when Dean Weitzman calls U.S. Claims, my clients get paid immediately. Because why? I have a relationship with U.S. Claims that goes back years and years and years. You know me. I know you. You know when I say this is a valid case, that's all you need to hear. And so there are relationships that are built up in this business that mean something.
Absolutely. And you're right, Dean. There's going to be certain attorneys that we deal with, mostly attorneys in Philadelphia. There are some in Florida, and some, the general ones who handle the wrongful conviction act cases, that if they call us and say, this is a solid case, we're getting involved, you have my assurance as an officer of the court that this case is a fundable case. You're also the type of attorney that's not going to call and say, give my client $50,000. It wouldn't happen. It would be whatever modest funding the client needed to get from whatever issue is pressing them at the moment so they can get some breathing room financially. So, yes, relationships are key because if the case goes south, God forbid, you have to pick up the phone and call us.
Exactly.
And our relationship is going to help us work through that. And
right.
It happens more than people realize.
Not with me.
We eat, not with you, of course, but with very, very good, solid attorneys, solid cases. Not everybody wins.
No, listen, I mean, if we did 1,000 deals together over the years, there's one or two or three that I've had to call and say the case went south. But it's literally that kind of percentage. It's most always we make sure that we have a valid case before we make the phone call to Donna Lee and her group to fund the case in the first instance. Right. And we try not to do that the day the case comes in the door. We need to have an opportunity to investigate the claim to make sure that all of the elements of a good case are there.
Right. So the case might have just walked in the door yesterday, but if you still have the police report, if you still have proof that your client has insurance, if you still have proof on the police report that the other person has insurance, and your client was taken in an ambulance to a hospital, we can look at this. If you're not going to call us on a case where somebody's in an accident, left the scene, didn't call to the police, and by the way, I haven't been to my doctor yet. Don't call us on that case either. It's just a waste of time.
Let's talk to Deborah from Cherry Hill, Donna Lee's hometown, her adopted hometown. She's really from Philly.
I am from Philly.
Okay. Deborah, welcome to Court Radio.
Hi, how are you?
We're well, thank you. How about you? How's Cherry Hill these days?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good, thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, I'd like to say I know someone in Connie that you mentioned on May 3rd, Sunday, 2 Sundays ago.
Uh-huh.
Tuesday. I was one of your first childhood sweethearts.
Wow.
He spent his birthday, May the 2nd, we said, at your home with the May Fair and Pascal fight and his children.
Yes.
Yeah, I was his prom date.
I say my
Mr.
friend
Quinzel.
That's the name.
Yeah.
That's him.
Yeah.
He's had many prom dates, I'm sure.
I'm sure he has. This one is memorable.
And Donna Lee was just waiting for some action to start.
We gotta hear that story.
Well, it's great to have a lively female caller come in and mix things up a little bit with
It
these
was
two.
kind of innocent, sweet, our relationship. And I met his wife, one of them, years ago. We were working in the same space, and I heard them call out his name, one of the supervisors. I said, wait a minute, who called that name? And I said, who called that name? It's not but one in the world. Didn't know it's another now, his son.
Right.
So then someone said, who's asking? And I said, and who are you? And then that voice said, well, I'm his wife. I said, who are you, Lady S? What's her first name? Letter of her first name. And she said, yes, who are you? And I said, she says, are you Debbie? Oh, my God. She jumped up. Junior jumped up.
Debbie,
Her
Debbie,
brother jumped up.
Debbie,
His
I
wife
am.
jumped up, and it was like a great reunion.
Yeah.
And they all knew who I was.
I'm going to ask Quinzel tomorrow
He
morning.
brings people together.
I'm keeping this slip. Debbie from Cherry Hill.
Yeah.
All right, so wait a minute. We only got 2 minutes left. Debbie.
Willingboro, I hear.
Yeah, I was in Willingboro yesterday. You missed me. But we only got 2 minutes left, Debbie. I'm going to put you back on the radio, but you got to tell us quickly, what is it you want to ask Donna Lee?
Okay. The question I have is a relative that I have was falsely accused of a sexual assault. They winded up staying incarcerated for almost 2 years, waiting, to be, freed or charged.
Right.
Found
He was a
out that it was
detainee.
incorrect.
Mhm.
DNA came back. But they did that time. Is there any recourse of action that they would have against the accuser or the authorities that kept them incarcerated during that time?
Well, first the accuser. Generally, accusers do not have, you can't get blood from a stone, right? So there's not going to be any compensation you're going to be able to get out of the accuser unless they have a trust fund somewhere. So then you would focus on the police conduct. And it sounds to me like your relative was a detainee sitting in a prison somewhere waiting for hearings to see what the charges, if any, would be. And after 2 years, the cops finally got around to doing something, and the testing came back, and your relative is free. So that wouldn't be a wrongful conviction, that case, because they're not convicted yet. But it could be a false.
I didn't say conviction. I said falsely accused.
Right.
Yeah, we got.
It could be it could be a false arrest case, or it could be a malicious prosecution. To keep somebody for 2 years.
What state was it in, Debbie?
It was in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Okay. So you should give us a call during the week at 215-227-2727. Have a family member give us a call. We can look into the case, and if it's an appropriate case, we can sign it up. And then at that point, Donna Lee would get involved because she needs to know that there's an attorney who backs a case and says that there's a valid case here.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
And
can I get a T-shirt?
You
absolutely.
I heard that wrong.
Yeah.
You said today it crossed my eyes because I didn't think I would get through. But when I heard that, I'm like,
hey,
do they realize they're giving a wrong date?
We'll even
and
try.
And then I was wondering if it was a tape record,
right.
show as opposed to live. It really kind of confused me.
We're going to try and get.
We're
going to try and get Quinzel to sign the shirt too before we give it to you.
And you guys have great fans, let me tell you.
All right, listen, Debbie, we got to run. Thanks for calling. Stay on the line. Monica's going to get you a T-shirt. She can't. You're going to have to call back. Yeah, well, yeah. Give us a call back next week. We'll get you a T-shirt. Have a great Sunday. Take care. Love you. Bye. Donna Lee, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
A great visitor. U.S. Claims, folks. If you need them, call them. We'll be back next week.
Goodbye.
The precinct.